let's talk about how to determine your building valuation. How are you going to determine that limit of insurance that they need? So your limit of insurance for each building is going to vary. Here in San Diego, you got some buildings that we could that are on the beach that are worth $1 million, but if we pick them up and move them inland, they could be worth half that. So again, the location is going to take into consideration how the limit is determined. Your construction type, is it frame? Is it joisted masonry? Is it masonry? It depends. That will also play into the factor because of the replacement cost for it. The height of the building, the total square footage, the age. These are all important things to think about because we are trying to find the appropriate limit to be within what a replacement cost estimator would come to. So I always get a lot of questions about how to determine the building limit. My number one thing is if you have available, run a building valuation report, replacement cost estimator, whatever you want to call it. If you have a Marshall and Swift, if you have access to CoreLogic for the risk meter, whatever works for you. I know some carriers, some of my agents have, through their carrier, they can run one through one of their direct markets. So if you have a way to run one because you're not sure how to calculate the limit, I definitely recommend that because that will give you a pretty true value. If you're not sure, it's a new client to you and they have current coverage, you can always take a look at what their current coverage is, base it off of that, or look at that and go, that's seems kind of low or seems kind of high, and make a recommendation to them based on that. Also, what I do when I get a submission in, I double check to see what the cost per square footage comes out to. So I just do the math backwards. I take the limit, divide it by the square footage to see what the cost per square foot comes out to. Generally speaking, I see anywhere from $100 to $250. Once we get over $300 a square foot, if somebody's looking for that, I will generally ask you for a building cost estimator because my markets are going to ask me for one because they might feel that it's too high. I know, each area is different. Like I said before, it's going to vary by the location. So if you have something that can back up the requested limit you're looking for, we will definitely, we can work off of that with that. But if we don't have that documentation, then we're going to go off of what the carrier system may determine. Some of my carrier systems have ones that determine it and some of them do not. So again, it would be a case-by-case situation. But the number one thing I want to say is do not base the building limit on the market value. That's just not going to work for the carrier. That's not going to be what the replacement cost of the building is. So I want to talk about a statement of values, or an SOV as I refer to it a lot of the times. So for me, a statement of values, it helps me if there's multiple buildings. For a risk, it helps me break down the buildings by the number of units, the square footage, and the property limits. So this is, like I said, really helpful for me on multi-building locations. This is something I do need to help me. Not all my carriers will offer blanket limits. And even if my carriers do offer blanket limits, they are looking for some sort of breakdown for their records. So that's where a statement of values can definitely come in and be helpful. So again, like I said, they are used for multi-building complexes or multi-locations. People, for these ones, if you have additional property components, such as there's fences or detached garage, maybe there's like a marquee sign, some BPP of the building owner, those are other places, if you don't put those on the accords, that my agents put them on. So I have that information so I can make sure I'm providing you a quote with all the coverages you're looking for. It is also helpful to let me know what's attached versus detached property components. So if there's a fence around the property, but it's not attached to the building in any way, then we'd have to schedule the fence out separately from the building. But if it's adhered to the building, whatever limit you wanted to include for the fence, we'd want to make sure that's included in the building limit. All right. And then I just wanted to provide you guys with an example SOV that, I use in the office. It doesn't have to look like this, just to give you kind of an idea what we're looking for and how to break things down. Again, just an example, just some things to think about if you're putting one together and you're not sure how to.